Good afternoon. It's such a pleasure to see all of you here. I'm Jürgen Allers, and it's an honor to have been asked to officiate at this celebration of Judy Rosenthal's life. George, Julio, Patricia, your wife, and all who are gathered here this afternoon, who have been fellow travelers along Judy's remarkable life journey, I bid you welcome. As we say our final goodbye to Judy, we find ourselves at the crossroads of both grief and gratitude. Grief for the loss of a beloved soul, and gratitude for the times and experiences we were fortunate enough to have shared with her. In moments such as these, we are reminded of the fragility of life, the depth of human connection, and the bonds that tie us together even in the face of parting. It is these bonds that we find comfort, knowing that love transcends the barriers of time and space, creating a treasure chest of memories that enrich our lives for many years to come. Surely, it's no secret here to anyone that Judy cherished life on this beautiful planet. She cared for a healthy, healing environment, for education and social justice in a broken and unequal world. And she found comfort and inspiration from poets of all generations, but in our time, especially the poets and thinkers of Wendell Berry and Mary Oliver. I'd like to share with you at this point just a few selections by Wendell Berry. The first is his poem, "The Peace of Wild Things." When despair for the world grows in me and I wake in the night in the least sound, in fear of what life and my children's life may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world, and I am free. A few other selected quotes by Wendell Berry. And having known and worked alongside Judy's passion for social justice, I can identify with why his words were so inspirational. And I quote, "We have the world to live in on the condition that we take good care of it. And to take good care of it, we have to know. And to know the world, we have to be willing to take good care of it and have to love it." Whether we or our politicians know it or not, nature is party to all our deals and decisions, and she has more votes, a longer memory, and a sterner sense of justice than we do. And now it's my great honor to introduce to you a very special man, Julio Leal, whose life was greatly influenced and shaped by the love, the grace, the guidance, and wisdom of Judy Rosenthal. Julio, accompanied by his wife, Patricia, traveled here from Northern California to share his remarkable tribute to our dear, now departed friend, Dr. Judy Rosenthal. I give to you Dr. Julio Leal.
I'm going to read my personal experiences and having met Judy, who I say saved my life. Hello, my name is Julio Leal. Thank you. And Dr. Judith Rosenthal was my teacher, friend, and mentor. But I think of her as my second mother because she provided support, housing, and advice until I graduated from Fresno State with my master's degree in literature. I will forever remain grateful to her and George for everything they did for me. I first met Judy after I transferred to Fresno State in 1987. Meeting Judy was the single most important thing that ever happened to me while on my academic journey that ended with me obtaining a PhD degree from UC Santa Cruz. Currently, I teach English at a community college and will be entering my 30th year and possibly retirement. I know that I would never have experienced the success I experienced in academia had my life not crossed paths with Judy's. Through her generosity, kindness, and her accepting essence, Judy inspired me to feel like part of a community while at Fresno State and beyond. These are only some of the reasons why I say that she was like a mother to me. My biological mother, her name is Lucia Leal, and she has a third grade education and was only allowed to attend grade school until she could sign her name. She is from the nearby state of Jalisco, where I was born as well. And I lost my father when I was 5 years old after he took his own life. I have an older brother, Javier, and a younger sister also named Judy. We left Unión de Tula, Jalisco in 1971 when my mother and siblings permanently relocated to the farming community in Salinas, California, where I grew up. My mother did her best to guide us through public schools, but she was rarely home because she was working 2 jobs, and as a result, only my sister and I graduated from high school. This was the 1970s, an era of forced busing to public schools in California. Because of forced busing, my siblings and I attended elementary and high schools in the more affluent parts of Salinas. As a byproduct of cultural climate of the early 1970s, my siblings and I were not allowed to speak Spanish in the classroom. And when we brought burritos wrapped in aluminum foil for lunch, warming them up in the sun whenever possible, our classmates would ridicule us, and sometimes we had to fight our ways out of these ordeals. Though we struggled throughout our elementary school days, our experience was not all bad because we also had many wonderful teachers and made wonderful friends along the way. And little by little, we learned to speak English well. During the junior high and high school, I started to excel in track and football and subsequently found an identity through playing sports. And in the process, like many of my peers, I did not pay much attention to my development as a student. I graduated from high school in 1984 with marginal skills, and the following year I enrolled at Hartnell Community College, where I ran track and played football. In my first year as a wide receiver, I broke the record for the longest touchdown catch and led the nation in yards per catch for community colleges, and I began to sense that a scholarship was possible. But I did not have good academic skills, but I knew the college education was a ticket out of having to live under the threat of not having enough food to eat or a roof over my head. However, things did not go as planned because in that summer, my first year of college, I wrecked my car and broke 3 ribs while racing downhill drunk in the mountains on the outskirts of town with some of my teammates, almost killing myself and my best friend. I had to be extracted from the car by the fire department and then rushed to a nearby hospital because I had difficulties breathing with 3 broken ribs and contusions to my lower and middle back. The drunk driving accident banished my dreams of earning a scholarship, athletic scholarship, and playing college football. The doctor warned me that high-impact sports would surely break the cartilage in my ribs and would probably not hold up to the physical demands of football. "You are living way too fast. You better slow down before you hurt us all even more," my mother told me as I recovered, bedridden for months. "I know," I replied, and I knew I had to leave town. I was determined to get out of town by going to school. I could tell my mother had given up on trying to change me. She had suffered enough with my father's tragedy. For the remainder of my time at Hartnell, after my accident, I stayed out of trouble, mostly by working and trying to improve as a student. I managed to maintain a C average GPA, and although I dropped pre-algebra and basic skills once, I eventually passed both classes and applied to Fresno State, mostly because it was inexpensive and had a good football team. I transferred to Fresno State after completing my AA degree in 1987. And several weeks into the semester, I got into another fight and ended up being rushed to the hospital to get 7 stitches on my left eye to stop the bleeding. I had officially gotten off to a bad start and felt like my life was running out of control. But the good thing was that I was still in school and attending classes. It was at this moment in my journey that I met Judy while waiting for Dr. Lacchois to start his office hours to discuss where I could improve my essay for my English 160W class, a mandatory upper division writing class that students had to take before venturing onto their coursework and their majors. I did not have a major and had marked PE and business on the applications. That day, I walked up the stairs of the building and looked up at the plaque that read the names Dr. Chua and Dr. Rosenthal. In those days, English professors at Fresno State shared offices with colleagues because there was limited space. My appointment was scheduled for 1:30, and glancing at my watch, I noticed I had arrived 10 minutes early. I leaned on the rails, and with the tule fog keeping my toes cold, I rehearsed the 3 salient questions I was going to ask Dr. Chua about my essay. The stitches had been removed from my left eye, and the purple swelling had mostly disappeared, but I walked around campus extremely conscious of my eye and felt embarrassed that I had put myself in such a terrible predicament once again. As I read the comments on my essay, I heard a voice from inside the office and leaned forward to see if it was for me. It was then that I heard Judy's voice for the first time say, "Are you waiting for Dr. Chua?" I responded, "Yes." "You can wait for him inside. That chair is for students," Judy said, pointing to the chair across from Dr. Chua's desk. I'm sure he's on his way. He will be here shortly." "Thank you," I said. "I think I'm a little early." I walked into the office and placing my backpack on the floor. Dr. Chua is a great teacher and a very nice person, Judy said. Yes, I said, thinking about my eye. We read stories about growing up in California. Then we write essays on the story we pick. Judy smiled and said, Fresno has many great writers. It's amazing how much good writing takes place here. Great stories and poems. My name is Judy, and I also teach English. What's your name? My name is Julio, and this is my first semester. Glad to meet you, she said with a smile. I smiled back and started reading my paper, thinking about the kindness Judy had shown me and thinking about Fresno's writers and poets. Dr. Chua promptly walked in at 1:30, and we discussed my essay and where I could make improvements. As I walked out the door, I thanked Dr. Chua for his time and waved goodbye to Judy. I rode my bike across campus to the apartment complex where I lived, feeling good about myself, hope blooming in my soul, and I started to feel like I was part of a community. Though my life was at a crossroads and seemingly spiraling out of control, after that day something changed, and I kept thinking about Fresno writers and poets. I was interested in finding more about what Judy had said, but did not know where to turn. So I kept that interest until the semester ended. I overcame the black eye and passed English 160W with a B. And for the first time in my life, I got an overall 3.0 GPA. I was so proud to be a B student, and as I prepared to enroll for the spring semester, I scanned the schedule of courses and saw the name J. Rosenthal for medieval and Renaissance literature. Recalling my conversation with Judy while attending Dr. Chua's office hours, I enrolled in the class. When the spring semester started, the Fresno weather was cold and overcast for weeks as the Thule fog blocked the sunlight. On the first day in Judy's medieval and Renaissance course, I quickly realized that I was not prepared for the class because I did not know anything about English history or literature. However, I soon learned that Judy's teaching style required student participation and that the class had group activities that were designed to foster critical thinking and engagement. Judy's teaching methodology encouraged us to work together and to learn from one another. We summarized literary works and then picked passages to share with our classmates and unlock meaning through analysis. Judy patiently helped us learn from each other as we built community in the classroom. But after the first month, she asked us to pair up with someone in the class to present, which was a much more daunting task. When the sign-up sheet reached my desk, I signed up for Miguel de Cervantes' Don Quixote de la Mancha and paired with an older student named Michael Green. As the presentation day arrived, we were nervous about Don Quixote because there was so much to say about the novel and how it had influenced the Western literary traditions. However, after hearing our more educated peers present, we decided to immerse ourselves for weeks researching literary criticism in the library. When the time came to present key passages and analyze the cultural and historical significance of the novel, we stood before our classmates, and to honor Cervantes, we invoked our best actors' voices and read passages aloud to the class. I read passages by Sancho Panza, and when I stumbled over a word or got sidetracked in my analysis, Judy guided the discussion back on track, patiently using the ideas in the presentation to expand on more salient points. When the presentation ended, she said, "Great work, you guys. Cervantes will be proud of both of you." Then our peers gave us a round of applause for our efforts. The presentation was a powerful teaching tool that brought the literary works alive and provided agency in the classroom, while it taught us the importance of scholarly work in the library and community. It was the first time I had immersed myself in serious research and felt transformed by the experience. After that presentation, I became known as Sancho Panza to my classmates. And occasionally, while walking on campus, I would hear, "Hey, Sancho, wait up." I would turn around and see one of my classmates calling out to greet me with a beaming smile. Sometime toward the end of the medieval Renaissance class, I scheduled a meeting with Judy to discuss my plans to become an English major. Judy's teaching style had changed the way I thought about myself, because instead of fearing failure and being consumed with self-doubt, my spirit began to yearn for more knowledge. A couple days later, I met with Judy during office hours to discuss my plans. "How are you doing?" she asked. "You have done really good work in the class." I said, "I would like to become an English major. I really enjoy learning about literature, but I don't feel prepared, or as well prepared as my peers." "You are doing great work," she said. "It's just a matter of doing the work in the library. The more you read and the more you write about topics, the more you will learn about literary movements. What's your major right now?" "Business or PE, not sure," I said. And she laughed. She always reminded me of that. She laughed and said, "You will be a great teacher and a scholar someday. I think you should major in English." With those words, Judy inspired an intellectual curiosity in me that permanently transformed me. And because I felt supported, I started spending my free time at the library reading books on the English department reading list. Whether it was the blistering summer sun or the Tule fog chill, I discovered that the library was a quiet place to hang out. And as I worked to catch up with my more educated peers, I found great joy in reading literary classics and criticism. I started to imagine that research in the library was like a football play or working at a packing shed, for it also required focus, dedication, and commitment. I reflected on the amount of change that had taken place in a year and felt blessed. After the medieval Renaissance literature course, I went on to study Chaucer and Shakespeare with Judy. And although I sometimes struggled with the Old English pronunciations in the Canterbury Tales and Hamlet, which we had to read aloud in class, I persevered and continued to evolve as a person. One day after Shakespeare's class, I waited my turn to talk with Judy about Shakespeare's sonnets and the teaching and profession. It was 1989, and my peers had started talking about teaching credentials, the MA programs and PhD programs, and universities. I felt lost in those conversations, so I thought I would talk to Judy about them. "Do you have questions?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "My fellow students are talking about teaching credentials and PhD programs, and I'm not sure what I should do." "Have you thought about applying to the graduate program? You can apply to work as a TA or maybe earn a scholarship." She then informed me about the GRE, teaching assistant positions and scholarships in the English department. Judy had become my mentor, and with her guidance, support, and patience, I eventually got into the graduate program at Fresno State. The year I started the graduate program, I met George, and then proceeded to rent a studio in their backyard, which they rented to students at below market cost and thus provided economic support. Instead of worrying about making rent payments or working long hours somewhere, I worried about conducting research at the library for my graduate classes. With the financial pressure off my shoulders, I spent my days reading books, writing essays, short stories, and poems. I would check out books at the library and bring them back to the studio and read all day. Judy and George became my mentors, dear friends and family, some Some 37 years have passed since I first met Judy, but I feel like it was just yesterday that our lives crossed paths. She is no longer with us, but her presence, thank you. But her presence, laughter, wisdom, and friendship will forever live on in the lives of the people who knew her. Judy saved my life and helped me transform my humanity by teaching me to value literature and learning. Among the many lessons, she taught me to work for a greater understanding of myself and the world. For like in a Keats poem, the truth was beauty that brought harmony and understanding to people and the world. She taught me to embrace the truth through greater understanding and work. And through her actions and the life she modeled, she taught me to help others whenever possible. She thoroughly enjoyed life and wanted those with less privileged lives to have better opportunities for pursuing the greater understanding of themselves and the world around them. Judy loved life, and she communicated this to her students by sharing wisdom and caring for them. She provided support and great patience, and through her spirit, she inspired us to find greater purpose and meaning in our own lives. Through her teachings, patience, generosity, love, and wisdom, she helped us achieve unimaginable possibilities. As a mentor, friend, and family, she will forever live in my heart. And one more time, I must say thank you. I'm going to read the poem. I'm going to read the poem that I wrote, some of it is in what I just shared, and it's in the pamphlet. It's a silvery light in the afternoon. Judy, my mentor, friend, and second mother, my advisor, inspiration, anchor, and burning torch, you have passed, but you will live forever in my heart. A mentor's lesson remains etched in the mind and passes on for generations. You showed me how to chisel anger into words of courage, fear into flowers, and rough stones into smooth tomorrows. You taught me to seek wisdom and truth through knowledge. Honesty is the spring from which communities must drink. Hope triumphs over razor wire and brings us all comfort. In Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, Shakespeare's Hamlet, Miguel de Cervantes' Don Quixote de la Mancha, we found new ideas for the equality of women and the poor. We discussed how justice is the twin sister of friendship. We remembered the forgotten people in our discussions, people in chains who could sleep but not allowed to dream. The medieval castles, the kings and queens, and mortar walls could not keep us students out. Don Quixote and Sancho Panza battled windmills so that the world could be born again. And so it was with your patience, generosity, love, and wisdom. You saved my life when my troubles followed me to Fresno. You helped me find the wounded and broken child inside me. You gave me a compass so that I could find my way in the world. Before I say goodbye, I want to thank you one more time, but it will not be the last time. I will forever feel thankful and blessed. Now, I'm reading a book in the studio. George waits for Amy to return. In the distance, I see the ash trees enveloped in the majesty of fall, the leaves flickering a silvery light. The tule fog clings to the leaves. Dew collects and drops quietly to the grass below. Hasta pronto, my beautiful dear friend, my mentor, y mi segunda madre, rest in peace.
Thank you, Julio, for your heartfelt, very deep, profound thoughts. We all were able to visualize glimpses of Judy's graceful guidance and mentoring of you into the person you are today. I know that's not easy, and I forgot to actually mention that there is a box of Kleenex here. And for any other speakers who will be up this afternoon, please feel free. It's right here. As we all knew, Judy simply couldn't help but be involved in enriching the lives and organizations right here in San Miguel de Allende. We have the pleasure of having several friends who knew Judy well in her resolute commitment to multiple local groups will now share their memories of Judy's various passions. Our first presenter will be Beverly Moore, share some memories related to the Page Turners Book Club. Beverly?
Thank you, and Julio, you are an inspiration, as Judy was to all of us. I really appreciate it. Oh, thank you. Okay, how's this? Good? Okay. As you can see, I'm smiling, just as Judy always smiled. You see all of the pictures up there on the screen, and that's one of the things that I remember about her most. I know that many think that funerals are an event that should be a somber occasion. But when I think of Judy's life and all the people she left an impression on, many of whom are here in this room today, I just can't help myself but smile. I met Judy through our book club 14 years ago. The first time I talked with her, she struck me as intimidatingly, almost frighteningly intelligent. But she was also very warm and supportive of the less eloquent members of the group, like me. When I was asked to do this, I actually considered reaching out to Obama to help me with this, but he graciously declined. That first week when we met all together, we were reading La Lacuna by Barbara Kingsolver. I remember that Judy called our attention to this one beautiful quote from the book: "Nothing momentous comes in this world unless it comes on the shoulders of kindness." That's how Judy lived her life, with a love of both kindness and greatness. When her husband George and I went to choose the flowers for the ceremony the other day, I was moved listening to him talk about what an incredible, healthy, and supportive and intimate relationship they always had. Which, by the way, is the same thing that Judy said on numerous occasions when she talked about George. She occasionally let it slip, "Forgive me, George, what an incredibly healthy sex life the two of you had." As I've said of our whole book club, I'm probably the least articulate. So, to honor her memory, I have compiled a list of remembrances from various other members of our group of friends. Carol recalls, "I love that Judy was such a straight shooter. Whenever you talked to her, you knew you would get her direct, unvarnished opinion. When she spoke, I listened." Sydney, who also played bridge with her, writes, "Judy was always so kind to me. When she gave me a compliment or agreed with a point I made, I was thrilled." Catherine writes, I thought the world of her intelligence, her thoughtfulness, and her compassion. Mary Catherine recalls, from her dedicated work at the Biblioteca to her fun-loving yet serious game of bridge, Judy was a vital source in our community. Above all, she was a loving wife and friend. And Susan says, if you were forming a book group, always include a professor of literature. She was adored by all of us. Gwen, just a few minutes ago, sent an email I was thinking about her all weekend. Unfortunately, she is not here, as many have had to leave San Miguel for various reasons, health, grandchildren, whatever. Anyway, sadly, of the original 8 members of our book club, only 2 of us are still around. But happily, new people continually join the group. That's a bit like life, isn't it? Infusing it with youthful energy and fresh points of view. And while we may disagree on books sometimes, the one thing everyone in our group agrees on is that Judy was greatly loved, greatly respected, and will be greatly missed. In conclusion, last night I had a dream that she was here with us in this very room. And I wish that were the case. I know that for me, book club will never be the same.
Thank you, Beverly. I didn't realize that you helped George pick out the flowers, but in many ways, if you look at the flowers, they represent Judy in many ways. So Judy is here in more ways than just the flowers. She's here definitely in spirit. We all recall her a wonderful life in multiple ways. Don Caldwell will be the next speaker for the Mujeres en Cambio NGO.
Thank you very much. I got to say, Julio, my road. Can you hear me now? And now? Okay. The road I traveled on my way to meeting Judith and during our time together was much easier than yours. I first met Judith at the Aldea Dog Park. Well, that was what we called it, but in fact, it turns out that the homeowners in the community didn't appreciate that so much. They were not too enthused about us gathering there in the morning with our dogs in tow. I just acquired my Buzz at the time, and I was looking for a place where he could exercise and meet some other dogs. Invariably, George was there. There in the park, his favorite old golden retriever, Chrissy, would be with him to chase a ball or two before she got played out, and then George would practice his golf swing. That was the golden retriever before Risa, who was the one that just passed, leaving George with a completely empty house. We're sorry for that, George. George and Judith acted as official patrons of the park, attempting to maintain a semblance of order, ensuring the owners picked up after their dogs, kept them from yapping too much and roaming too far afield. They initiated a collection program to give the resident gardener some cash around Christmas time as a small reward for putting up with the extra work associated with the dogs. Judith did not come by every day, but did show up from time to time to chat with some of us. She became a mentor to me. I had no idea that she had also been a mentor throughout her illustrious academic career to so many others. I had joined a small organization called Mujeres en Cambio as assistant treasurer, and that was a significant conversation opener with Judith. I learned that Judith had not only been a consistent volunteer and supporter of Mujeres en Cambio, but that she was a very strong voice on our behalf when it came to the distribution of grants from the Unitarians every year. The dreaded COVID was upon us at that time, and things were beginning to shut down. By then, I had been talked into becoming president of Mujeres en Cambio. I had done the research. Educating girls and young women is perhaps the most important way of stopping the cycle of poverty so often comes with being a young girl in the campo around Mexico. So Judith took me under her wing, not something most women easily consider. Surprise, surprise, I can be a little prickly at times. But Judith managed to ignore my rough spots. She brought to me a lot of context and history about the formative years of Mujeres en Cambio. We began to plot ways to bring back some of the past luster in the organization. It had been languishing and a bit rudderless for several years, and as the pandemic began to fade, we schemed over how to reintroduce regular luncheons into the San Miguel community. We plotted the size, location, timing of a fundraiser luncheon to kick off our return after COVID. After COVID, that's AC. We managed to pull off a big one in March of 2022. It sold out at $100 a plate in less than a week. I was honored to have Judith at my table during that event. Judith Rosenthal was a beacon of light and a dear friend to Mujeres en Cambio. For more than a dozen years, through the United Universalists, she channeled her passion for empowering girls into an enduring impact. The UU grants for Mujeres en Cambio that Judith championed have been, and still are, an important part of the lifeblood of our organization, supporting the dreams and aspirations of girls and young women that might otherwise remain unrealized. Let us honor her passing with gratitude and the considerable contributions Judith made during her time with us. Her memory inspires us at Mujeres to continue our mission. Thank you, Judith.
Thank you, Don, for those memories. We all know that Judy was very, very active in the Biblioteca for many years. And Kathleen Ellsworth was going to speak to her engagement at the Biblioteca, but unfortunately last night she had a pretty significant fall and can't be with us today. But Pat McLeod stepped in the last minute, and Pat, we invite you to come forward and share some thoughts. Here she is.
Is that good? Yes. So Kathleen is very, very sorry that she cannot be here today, as she took a very bad tumble yesterday morning. She has joined the illustrious list of fallen women in San Miguel. And so I am speaking on her behalf about how we at the Biblioteca all miss Judy. Kathleen worked with Judy for 15 years at the Biblioteca. She brought lots of knowledge and ideas. Judy has had a box with her name on it, and we would put books in there for her to decide if they would be put in the Biblioteca. She chaired the English Book Committee to decide what new books should be put in. She never put in vampire books. Judy wanted people to read Canadian authors, and so a system was developed within the library to decipher, to let people know Canadian authors. She wanted people to read Latin American literature and biographies, and that was set up too. Judy really got mad at the book banning and made sure that the Biblioteca had all the books that were banned. Yes. She made sure LBGTQ books were on the shelves, and her passion was poetry, and she worked very hard to make sure it was a very good poetry collection. The Biblioteca and its volunteers will miss her contribution, her laugh, and her smile. And that Kathleen is saying exactly these words, and this is her words to Judy.
Thank you, Pat. Margie Byrne, an actress known to many of us, worked and played, I imagine, with Shakespeare. I'm sorry, in this case, it's not the Shakespeare, because Jean is going to give that one. No, it's the Bridge Club. And I didn't realize until I came in this afternoon that it's called the Bridge Studio of San Miguel. So please welcome Marjorie.
Hello, everybody. I still find it hard and painful to believe that I'm speaking at Judy's memorial service. I, along with so many others, sent her love and healing thoughts all during her last year, and we all thought she would pull through, as did Judy herself. She was incredibly brave. But her journey is over. Too soon, alas, too soon. At Bobby Kennedy's funeral, his brother Ted Kennedy said, "My brother need not be idealized or eulogized in death beyond what he was in life, but be remembered simply as a good and decent man who saw wrong and tried to right it. Those of us who loved him and take him to his rest today, pray that what he was to us and what he wished for others will someday come to pass for all the world. And so it is with our dear Judy. She need not be idealized. She was very human, a woman of strong opinions, and myself being a woman of strong opinions, we sometimes clashed. But far above and beyond that, she too was a good and decent woman, generous to a fault, intelligent, involved, a great friend who saw injustice and did what she could to right it. One of her most admirable qualities, I think, if she did something, she did it full tilt, fully involved and often leading the charge. As an English professor, Judy had a great love of literature and poetry. And to do her honor, I'm going to quote some poetry and Shakespeare in my talk. John Updike wrote some beautiful poems about death, and he said, "Another regrettable thing about death is the ceasing of your own brand of magic, which took a whole life to develop." And we saw from those wonderful pictures Judy's life and how she did develop her own brand of magic. He said, "For life's a shabby subterfuge, but death is real and dark and huge, and the shock of it will register nowhere but where it will occur." Well, Judy's passing occurred here in San Miguel, her adopted home, and those of us left behind feel it most painfully. Patrick Mahomes may have been the MVP at the Super Bowl, but I think Judy was our most valuable player. I knew her on many levels. She invited me to join the book club. Thank you, Bev, for talking for us. We belonged to UU. We played bridge together, and we were members of Shakespeare readers. I often felt we led parallel lives. And she was a very good friend to me, very inclusive. She asked me to read a poem at book club when she was introducing a book. She asked me to participate when she led a UU service. And she came to all my shows that I acted in and directed and always wrote me a kind note. She never missed a concert or recital or theatrical undertaking, and I will deeply miss that support in my life. If she was part of something, she was deeply involved. She was never a bystander. Her introductions of books and book club were always so informed and interesting. And when Olivia, the leader of the Shakespeare readers, died, not a good job, I guess, Judy took over as a Shakespeare wench. And she sent out notices about upcoming meetings and kept all the copies of the plays. And I was often her second in command, especially towards the end. I knew how badly she wanted to attend, but she didn't have the strength. I know she was a great lover of Mary Oliver, And Mary Oliver wrote a beautiful poem, When Death Comes, which I'm going to read part of. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what's it going to be like, this cottage of darkness? And therefore I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made something of my life, something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened, so full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. Well, Judy certainly did not simply visit this world. She hosted life. She embraced it. She fully participated. She was a leader and an organizer and vitally involved in everything she did. She had a huge, undaunted spirit. When Cleopatra finds out that her beloved Antony is dead, she said, the case of that huge spirit now is cold. I hope your spirit is at peace, Judy. You will be sorely missed. Good night, dear Judy. May flights of angels sing you to your rest.
Judy had a particular appreciation and love for many performing artists here in San Miguel. One of her favorite was vocalist Yoramen Agobi, who will now share with us one of her many beautiful songs. Yoramen.
Una canción especial para la vida. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, que me ha dado lucero, que cuando los abro, perfecto distingo lo negro del blanco, y en el alto cielo su fondo estrellado, y en las multitudes el hombre que amo. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el oído todo su ancho, graba noche y día, y yo sí canario, martillos, turbina, ladridos, chubasco, y la voz tan tierna de mi bien amado. Que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el sonido y el abecedario, con las palabras que siento y declaro, madre, amigo, hermano, y y luz alumbrando la ruta del alma del que estoy llamando. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado la marcha de mis pies cansados, con ellos anduve ciudades y charcos, martillos, turbina, ladrido, chubasco y la casa tuya, tu calle y tu patio. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio el corazón y agita su marco cuando miro el fruto del cerebro humano, cuando miro el bueno tan lejos del malo, cuando miro el fruto de tus ojos claros. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado una risa y me ha dado el llanto, así yo distingo dicha de quebranto, los dos materiales que forman el canto de ustedes, que es el mismo canto, el canto de todos, es mi propio canto. Gracias a la vida, gracias a la vida, gracias a la vida.
If some of you hadn't been fortunate enough to hear Yoraman sing before, you now know why Judy loved her singing so much, because it comes straight from here. Thank you. Muchas gracias. We have a few more tributes to share from friends representing local organizations. Organizations that she had a passion to be identified with. And our first speaker is my good friend Jean Harvey, who will speak to the Shakespeare readers. Jean.
This may not bend up high enough for me, we'll see. I'm glad Marjorie went first, because it reminds me of that standard joke. I guess there's a lot of people here from the Shakespeare group, and you know, there's the three kinds, right? Those that'll tell you what Shakespeare group used to be like back in the day, which is kind of what Marjorie did. The people like me that have kind of been around a short while and don't know all this history, and then those leaving on Tuesday. So I'm really glad she went first, because I came here in February 2020. That's when I arrived and retired here. Well, of course, a month later, the you-know-what hit the you-know-what. So why do I bring that up? Because, well, the Shakespeare group met during the pandemic. The UU Church did not, so that's where I met Judy. was at the Shakespeare group. And she was very encouraging. She facilitated it, as Marjorie mentioned. And, you know, and I'm not privy to all the history, but I know the group's been around a very, very long time. And the key point is she was so excited to read Shakespeare's plays, and she always encouraged the readers. And for me, the group proved to be a springboard for acting roles I did, and Judy, without fail, would email me these encouraging messages, congratulations, and she was always in my corner. But all I know really about the Shakespeare group is we're a bunch of people that get together and read Shakespeare, okay? So that's pretty much it. And there's people here that can tell you more about it. But last year, 2023, to be really frank, I lost a lot of friends and family members. It was a really bad year, more than I have fingers on my two hands. And I bring that up because it got me thinking about what was special about Judy, what differentiated Judy. And something just came to me, and I'm going to bet that nobody else talks about this, but I'll bet you all know what I'm talking about. You know those people have tombstone eyes? They walk around on the terra firma. They're here, but no one appears to be home. You've met them, and maybe some are addicts, so I don't mean to make fun of them. Some people have piercing eyes. They kind of look through you. Or judging eyes, right? Or maybe shifty eyes, people you can't quite trust. Not Judy. Judy's eyes were illuminating, surveying, warm, emerald, curious, playful, life-affirming, true, serene, whimsical, sprightly, vivacious, elvish, keen, and perceptive. Like this, remember? She was like, yeah, she had those eyes, didn't she? Now, of course, there were times when something would trouble her, because she cared about a lot of things, and you could catch that look of consternation in her eye, but that was the exception. So if Judy were here now, what she would want is she'd want me to read some Shakespeare. And surprise, surprise, he wrote about eyes. So how lucky. And I'm going to change a couple pronouns, and a couple of these are a little on the romantic side, so just pretend it's George talking. But from Sonnet 24, her eye hath played the painter. From Sonnet 17, I could write the beauty of your eyes, and in fresh numbers all your graces. The age to come would say, this poet lies. Such heavenly touches ne'er touched earthly faces. From Love's Labors Lost. From Judy's eyes, this doctrine I derive. They sparkle still the right Promethean fire. They are the books, the arts, the academes that show, contain, and nourish all the world. Sorry. And from Romeo and Juliet. Sleep dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast. Would I were sleep and peace, so sweet to rest. My amiga, my compadre, my champion. I miss you.
Thank you, Jean. Beautifully read. we have another person from the Page Turners Book Club, namely Kim Malcolm. Kim?
So, who put me after a tall Shakespeare scholar? I only knew Judy for a few short years, but during that time she became a treasured friend. She was an intellectual, an advocate for social justice, and a devoted partner to George. Judy and I first met as bridge partners, actually. She was an exacting player. She knew all the rules, she knew all the conventions, and she knew all the probabilities. And I didn't. I just wanted to play no trump. But we survived. When I was new to San Miguel, Judy made sure I felt included. She'd invite me to UU lunches at HO and save a seat for me at the Writers' Conference. Judy was passionate, as I am, about books and progressive politics and ideas. I couldn't wait to have lunch with her to hear about the performances that she'd attended and get her book reviews. She always saw more in every book than I did. When I spoke of travel, Judy would say, "I can't imagine leaving San Miguel. The whole world is here for me." Judy was also like a big sister to me. When I had an idea, she was always encouraging, except once. When I told Judy I was opening a bookstore, she said, "Why would people go to a bookstore when they have a library?" I think she eventually came over to the dark side after I told her I could get the latest titles before the Biblioteca could. I miss Judy, as we all do. And I am going to talk about her eyes. What I miss most about her is when her eyes would sparkle and she'd look off into the distance and giggle. And the sound of that giggle will always be with me. And I want to also say something to George. I want to thank George for being such a wonderful partner to her for so long, and especially in these last difficult months of her life. Thank you, George. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kim. Our next speaker was not omitted on purpose, but somehow he didn't get on the printed program. But Tom Smith is going to speak about general wonderful relations and memories, but it was also partly due to the Bridge Club. Tom.
Hello. I think many of us knew Judy from many different aspects of her life. She was one of my very first friends in San Miguel, and I met her through the Bridge Club. I'm a bridge player, and Judy was a very good bridge player. She was a perfectionist. She demanded a lot of herself. She would always be thrilled when she could make a coup or something special, but if she made an error, she was hard on herself. But what I learned, what I noticed about Judy initially was just her general enthusiasm about life and her intellectual conversations. She didn't spend a lot of time gossiping. She was talking about substance. She was talking about ideas. And she had such a vivacious outlook and such enthusiasm for life. Judy and I would attend concerts together at St. Paul's. And one of my last fun experiences with Judy was at the Los Locos parade 2 years ago. most of the gringos stay home from these events. I think they're fun. And Judy had great love of life and wanted to be participating in everything. George and Judy got a dog a couple years ago, Reza, and the dog was sick, very sick, and they took several months for it to get better. 9 months ago, I got a puppy, Corazon, a red heeler, who's a bit of a, not an easy puppy to deal with. But when Judy was sick and we would visit by appointments, she wanted me to bring that puppy by, and so she could watch it grow up. And Corazon and Risa became great friends. We go to Parque Aldea almost every day, and my dog always stops at the entrance to George and Judy's home and sniffs the door and wants to come in, but of course, Risa's gone, so thanks.
Thank you, Tom. And last but not least, it's my very great honor to introduce a good friend of mine, John Sinsarian, who will speak to Judy's involvement in the UU as a member of the board of directors, as well as on the Social Action Committee. It was my privilege to work alongside with Judy on that committee for a little over 5 years. John, please.
I appreciate this opportunity to speak today. If you didn't know Judy before today's event, I'm sure you now know what a fantastic person she was. It was an honor to have known her. I was president of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende from 2016 to 2020. Judy was a member of the board during that time and helped to make my experience as board president rewarding and fun. As she was, as people have mentioned before, she was on point. She was positive. She was a can-do person. It was wonderful to have such a clear thinker and articulate person. It was wonderful. Judy also served as parliamentarian for the fellowship at membership meetings because of her clarity and knowledge. Everyone knew that they were in good hands when she was the parliamentarian, and you didn't mess around. In addition to the board of directors, I had the pleasure of serving with Judy on the Social Action Committee and the Nominating Committee. She was also a member of the Sunday Services Committee. So she was an activist, a clear and strong advocate for social justice and the importance of financially supporting the San Miguel NGOs. Judy saw social justice as an important part of the mission of the fellowship and valued the time when 50% of the fellowship budget was used for this purpose. Judy had a clear value base and made on-point contributions in an articulate and concise fashion. Of course, being on a committee, those attributes were so extremely important. It was always clear that Judy cared about the welfare of others, particularly people who were in need of support. Her active volunteer involvement with various NGOs here in San Miguel enriched her input regarding issues of social justice. Not only was Judy an effective member of various committees, it was a pleasure to be with her as she brought her elegance and competence to the meetings. It was a joy to arrive at meetings. Jean mentioned her eyes. There was a twinkle. That was another word that I saw in terms of Judy's eyes. You arrived in a meeting, she was a welcoming presence with her twinkle in her eyes and her smile. So it was a pleasure to have her in your presence. So, during the meeting, she would calmly but forcefully, and I want to stress that, forcefully let everyone know her position on issues. This thoughtful input would help facilitate resolution of issues in a positive and meaningful fashion. Judy was someone, as has been mentioned before, who enjoyed life and in retirement continued to learn, grow, have new experiences, and to use her wisdom to give back. And again, we've heard that throughout the day today. She was the epitome of how to live life in what is sometimes called the third stage of life. She practiced what I would call saging, applying her life experiences to make the world a better place, making a positive difference in the lives of many. I know my life is richer for having known Judy. I will miss her.
Thank you so much, John. Yoraman has agreed to share another one of her favorite songs with us. Yoraman.
Dios en Chocoreuta, sí. Muchísimas gracias por permitirme estar aquí. Mira, Wina que aleya. Una canción tradicional mexicana, tradicional mexican song. paloma triste muy de mañana le va a cantar a la casita sola con sus puertitas de par en par. Juran que esa paloma no es otra cosa más que su alma, que todavía le espera que regrese la desdichada. Vamos cantando juntos todos. Cucurrú, cucú.
I've had the joy of hearing Yoraman sing this, what I would call the Mexican national anthem of love, several times, and I could hear Judy sing right along with it. Cuckoo. We're in a circle of friends. We're not literally sitting in a circle, but we are in a circle of friends. Most of us have known Judy quite well, over many years. We now have the opportunity, and I invite any of you to come forward, to speak from the heart briefly. We won't have a timekeeper or anything like that, but if you would, please, if you would like to share something of your own memory of Judy and tribute to her, then I invite you to come forward to form a line either on my left, or on my right. There you go. So anyone who would like, just feel free to come forward.
I feel too emotional to talk about Judy, but I did talk with her brother Kevin, and he wants to pass this along. My beloved sister awakened me to a sacred respect for women. She drank from the river of knowledge. This is Kevin Nichols, her only relative.
I'm Arlena Lawrence, and Judy and George I know for 18 years, when both myself and they moved into Aldea. And I am still at a point where when I pass the gate to go back to my house, I can't believe she is not there. She was my eyes and ears of the world. Judy was able to tell me everything that was going on. where to eat, where not to eat, what to see, what to read, etc., etc. We shared trips together. The last memorable one was when we went to Cervantino, and it was George's 70th birthday, and we had 3 wonderful, wonderful days. I will never forget that. Another trip was just 4 of us on a bird watching trip with her brother. And I'm not a bird watcher, but sorry. I see them, I like them. But, and a very other, well, we were in Shakespeare together for probably the 18 years. She was a big supporter of Mujeres en Cambio, which my 4 years as events chair, I really appreciate. She came to all the events. George cooked. And I admired that so, that she could do, she did water aerobics. She did yoga religiously. They walked and walked and walked everywhere. I was very envious of her energy, her intelligence, and all the wonderful times that we shared together. I have trouble going past the house. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My reflection on Judy, beyond her being this wonderful, loving person, is that if you needed a partner on a social action issue, such as the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which was a trade partnership that was going to be very bad for Mexico, or Occupy Wall Street, or all sorts of things like that, you always knew that you could find Judy there, standing right beside Cliff, which is another grave loss. So we've lost this year, within the last 12 months, 2 really amazing human beings.
After more than 40 years as, among other things, a university professor, there's at least one plane on which, more than anything else, I can relate to Judy. But after that time, I kind of run out of words. At least I run out of lecturable words. And so I prefer to share a piece of poetry. It's an ode to Judy Rosenthal. Oh, here's to you, Judy Rosenthal. You were a joyful song in our lives, a bridge between so-called expatriate communities and the rest of San Miguel. You helped sustain our UU and made our Biblioteca a center of interaction as well as information on all levels, making our books bilingually available to all, even those authored by your humble servant. For those and many other San Miguel reasons, you'll be missed. You departed too soon, leaving George behind. Our thoughts go out to him as well. So here's to you, Judy Rosenthal. Wherever you've gone to, you've prepared the way, you've earned our love, and left your mark on the rest of us. Yes, here's to your well-earned rest, and whenever it happens, for ours, too.
I love the photo that's on the screen of Judy lifting her glass. So I hear her say, "Here's to life." In closing, I would like to share a few more quotes, this time from the poet Mary Oliver, that I'm sure that Judy would have embraced with deep appreciation. You have to be in the world to understand what the spiritual is about. And you have to be spiritual in order to truly be able to accept what the world is about. Animals praise a good day, a good hunt. They praise rain. If they're thirsty, it's a prayer. They don't live an unconscious life. They simply have no language to talk about things like that. But they are grateful. They're grateful for the good things that come along. I'm sure that many of you, knowing Judy and George, knew how fond they were of dogs, particularly of the yellow Labrador kind. I recall several occasions when both of them were walking their beloved risa, meaning laughter, in Parque Juárez, as I was walking my dog. Although it's been alluded, I think by both Tom and Don, some of you may know that Risa grieved greatly at Judy's sudden, inexplicable departure. She would come into their bedroom and settle in that part of bed where Judy used to lie. And ironically, only just a few days after she passed, Risa consumed a plastic bag and died soon thereafter. She was only 3 years old. We can only imagine the profound sense of emptiness that George must be enduring. Again, Mary Oliver. Because of the dog's joyfulness, our own is increased. It is no small gift. It is not the least reason why we should honor as love the dog of our own life and the dog down the street and all the dogs not yet born. Someone I once loved gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last? And what's too soon? Tell me, what is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. And finally, to live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it. And when the time comes, to let it go. To let it go. My dear friends, we've come to the formal conclusion of this wonderful, memorable event, celebrating the amazing life of our dear friend Judy Rosenthal, who has graced us and our community with her devotion, her multiple talents, and most of all, her love. We will long cherish the wonderful memories shared by so many of you and many who were not able to be here today. I invite you in closing to stand, if you are willing and able, to sing a song that I know Judy had a particular zing in singing. I know because once I sat right there where Betsy is sitting, and she was sitting next to me, and we both sang it straight from the heart. Spirit of Life. The words will appear on the screen. Seated. Is there not? Seated. We'll remain seated as Paula plays the beautiful postlude, after which I hope you will join everyone, and certainly Julio, to thank him and to thank one another for the wonderful memories that were shared around the cookie and the Jamaica, I think it's good, table. There's also a beautiful memory table that Diana Akisian put together, and there's a memory book that we would invite you to share some special thoughts or memories that you have from Judy. Also, I would like to extend special thanks to the planning team that organized this beautiful service. George, sitting right up front, as you know, Trish Snyder, Jane Wilkinson, and Diana Ekezian. And now, may peace and joy always, always be and abide with you. Voilà.